6:02. It is 6:02 p.m. on Monday, March 23rd, 2026. This is a meeting of the Katuah Fire District Prudential Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first agenda item is all those who are able, please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to take the roll call. This is Mark Lynch.
John Havel.
Right, wrong.
Ryan Willett.
Commissioner Burdick has the town council meeting. He hopes to join us later. Next agenda item is public comment. Any public comment here? If you would come forward.
Good evening.
Evening.
For the record, Patty Daly.
Can you give your address to Patty?
Sure.
Ask us.
Happy to do. That was me. 45 Banfield Drive. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that the bylaw committee final recommendations, the public who might be watching virtually can get those online on the district's website under Prudential committee meetings, and in the 3/11/26 meeting minutes is actually the final recommendation of the bylaws committee. So, and then for people who are here in person, I made copies and they're on the back table. And then Mike, I have one question, which is, are we to speak to the bylaw committee recommendations during the agenda item, or is that just for public comment?
My thought was that we would be discussing the recommendations of the bylaw committee in open meeting.
In open meeting, so during public comment?
No, during public comment comes afterwards. Public comment always comes after what any agenda item and before.
But during the agenda item, not the public comment at the end of the meeting.
You're asking whether there will be public comment during the agenda item.
Yes.
There is typically not, so no.
Okay, so then I would like to present the findings of the bylaw committee before you start discussing it without open public comment.
All right.
Okay, sorry. You get my notes?
Yeah.
Get up with the owl. First of all, I wanted to thank Lally Lloyd for getting this committee put together early instead of later in the year. That was very helpful. I want to thank our committee members, David Sherbuck from Water, Chris Ross from Fire, Seth from the Prudential Committee, and then the year 2 citizen representatives, myself, Patty Daly, and Jim Canavan. So thank you to you all. And if any of my fellow committee members want to come join me, feel free. All righty. And thank you for the opportunity to present our recommendations. I'll try and be relatively quick. The first recommendation is to add an amendment to the bylaws to create a records access officer under the state public open meeting law, or I'm sorry, the public records law. This is something that other districts have done. I should say, we started with a kind of a survey of the other fire district bylaws to see what other districts are doing and what they may have that we don't have and we may want to consider. So that's kind of where we started off. There are also 2 districts out off Cape. One, there's 2 in South Hadley, and interesting, and 1 in Dartmouth. So I looked at all of them. There are 5 in Barnstable. I looked at all of those, and they were more applicable. Most of at least a couple of the other districts on the Cape have a records access officer. And from my reading of the public records law, it's actually a requirement, but it's something I would encourage you to run by Mark Boudreau. So that's what the first amendment is. The second amendment has to do with the time of the annual district meeting, which are currently held at 7:30. And the committee is recommending moving those to 6 p.m. instead of 7:30 p.m. With the hope that you'll get better attendance if it's a little earlier in the evening. So that was a reason for that. And the rationale for all of these amendments is within the final resolution. We also recommended publication of the voting results of the annual district meeting much sooner after the meeting's over. We shouldn't have to wait a year to know what the district voting was. So that would be a narrative of the vote and the outcome of the votes. Something we do already, but the proposal is to move it up earlier in the year. Number 4 is adding 140 Old Oyster Road to the list of properties to be supervised by the Prudential Committee. You're already in charge of Freedom Hall, so this would add the property at 140 Old Oyster to that. Number 5, changing the reporting deadline and publication date of the annual report. We discussed this quite a bit and decided to table it, particularly where the clerk hasn't emerged yet from what that's going to be. But we thought it was something we should keep on your radar for further consideration down the line. Number 6 is to add a provision for recall of elected officials. And this is something that I think all the other Barnstable fire districts do. We discussed it. We are recommending a voter petition approach to that, signed by at least 100 voters. So we set the bar pretty high, I think. And we also noted that there are no controversies at the moment. So there probably won't be a better time to address something like a recall provision. And then finally, we had some additional recommendations. Under number 7, the bylaw committee recommends the bylaws be revised to include an updated title page. We need to update the amendments list. And I created a new table of contents because it would be nice if people could actually find things in the bylaw more easily. And actually, then finally, we have some non-bylaw recommendations that the committee, and I should say all of these recommendations were unanimously approved by all the members of the bylaws committee. The Prudential Committee recommendations are add administrative and technical support capacity for the Katuitt Fire District, expand the duties of the district administrator to assist in the reporting of committee activities and general district communications, purchase new equipment, provide training opportunities, and designate a tech support contact. Number 2, public participation at Prudential Committee meetings. Ask public comment participants to state their name for the record and their address. Thank you. Share all documents discussed during the Prudential Committee meetings electronically and via hard copy for all in-person meetings. I note that the screen hasn't been up in the last few meetings anyway, so nothing's been shared electronically, at least in this room. When Lisa Haven left, we just stopped making hard copies of anything for people coming to the meetings in person. And it's really hard to sit in the audience when you can't see what's being discussed. And then finally, read or summarize all public comments into the record, including chat comments of virtual meetings during the current or next relevant meeting. Do not disable chat function of virtual meetings. And then finally, for warrant recommendation, that is, and you do this already, but we wanted to just state it out loud, place high cost expenditure articles that would impact the district tax levy early in the warrant to ensure better voter participation. And those are the recommendations unanimously made by your bylaws committee.
Patty said in the last one again.
Sure, it's to put high price tag warrant articles like towards the beginning of the warrant. So that you're not losing people towards the end of the meeting when a high price item might come up.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer any questions. And we have many committee members.
Great, we are, it's your last on our agenda, I'm afraid, but
right.
on the agenda, we may have a long meeting, so. Oh, here we go.
Thank you for putting these together and doing all the, meeting that many times. This is very, very good.
It was a great committee. We met 3 times, a total of 2.5 hours, and we got it done. So
Impressive.
very efficient.
That's sufficient, that's good, thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Ally.
Hi, everybody. I first want to thank Patty Daly and the other members of the Bylaws Committee for their thorough and conscientious work on our behalf. And I'm grateful that they brought their recommendations to the Prudential Committee at this moment. So there's plenty of time for transparency and people to know what's going to be discussed. And then I have a couple questions for the Prudential Committee. As everybody knows, I will be serving as moderator of the annual meeting. I've never done this before. And so I have a couple of procedural questions, and I don't know what is the best moment for me to raise those questions. Chairman Lynch, should I proceed with some of my questions?
Yeah, yes, we definitely will engage with you on this sooner rather than later. How long are you going to be, Lally? I just know we have a large number of agenda items today. But if there's some quick and dirty things we can get to the bottom of, yeah, we'll be happy to.
I think they'll be pretty quick and dirty. So number one, because we just heard the report from the Bylaws Committee, it's my expectation, and I wonder if you can affirm this, that because this was the authorized Bylaws Committee duly appointed by me in my position as moderator, that the recommendations that the Bylaws Committee is making on our warrant come with the full endorsement of the Prudential Committee. I know that sometimes there have been items on the warrant that the Prudential Committee recommends people vote against. And I'm hoping that these items on the warrant will be items that the Prudential Committee recommends people vote in favor of.
Okay, we're jumping ahead to the last item on our agenda.
Okay, all right.
We will discuss that when it arises on the agenda.
Okay, that sounds fine with me. Then the last thing, and the one that's biggest on my mind right at the moment, is my understanding, and I just need some reassurance about this, is that my responsibility is for the actual moderating of the meeting itself, not for any of the logistical preparations in terms of the list of voter rolls, the signing in of people on the day of the meeting, the creation of any video, effects that people might want to be able to see in order to be informed around these issues. I just need to make sure that there's adequate staff support from the fire district to accomplish all of those important tasks.
Lally, take a look at the bylaws. The short answer to that is no. Take a look at the bylaws. Some of those items you addressed are specifically, I believe, the responsibility of the moderator. But it probably makes sense for us.
Sorry, the clerk.
No, some of them are the responsibility of the clerk. Some of them are the responsibility of the moderator. I know that in years past, for example, the moderator has been responsible for checking in voters and distributing voting cards and arranging for no, I just drew a blank. But yes, other counters, yes, counters. And there are other duties that are specifically the duty of the clerk, meaning, for example, they're supposed to secure a police officer, they're supposed to arrange for recording. So it's probably not worthwhile for, we have like 15 people here to go to parse those, but it absolutely needs to be done sooner rather than later. And Lally, why don't you contact me offline and we can get clarity on those.
Happy to do that. Thank you, Mark.
Okay,
Got more public comment from Lisa?
Lisa, go ahead. Are you unmuted?
Yep,
We don't hear anything. There we
sorry.
go.
Lisa Vasloff, 89 Narrows Way. Just wondering if you guys know what the deadline is for people to get nomination papers in. Because I know they've been delivered to the water department, and the Civic Association would like to include that information in the Katuitt Currents.
Okay, that is an agenda item that we're going to talk about when we talk about the clerk.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay. Anybody else with public comment? Okay, anybody here in the room? Okay, seeing no hands raised, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is meeting minutes approval. This would be approval of the Prudential Committee March 9, 2026 meeting. I hereby move to approve those minutes. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. The next document, or the next agenda item rather, relates to the Katuitt School demolition and remediation project. This will be very brief. The requests for bids have gone out. The bids are due this Thursday. We understand that 10 contractors have pulled the bid, so to speak, are looking at it. We hope that is good news in terms of the number of bids we get. The next, assuming that, well, at left field, our project manager will review the bids to determine that they are all accredited bidders, so to speak. Subject to that, we need to take the lowest bidder. I am contemplating, depending on Prudential Committee members' schedules, a Friday meeting, at which point we will be in a position to hopefully accept the low bid.
This Friday.
This Friday.
Sure.
Okay, we'll talk to Mr. Burdick as well. Anything else on that? I think not. The next agenda item relates to the Historical Society.
Molly DeMello, 28 Point Isabella. I'm here on behalf of the Historical Society. And we just wanted to update the Prudential Committee on our grand plan to expand at the Historical Society. Phase 1 has been completed with capital campaign grants and fundraising. We've renovated and expanded our museum to better serve our village and to hold our growing collection of documents and acquisitions, including a life-size Katuitt skiff, as well as Katuitt's first fire truck. The Historical Society oversees 2 museums, an ice house, and archival storage of historical documents and items of the village. Since its founding in 1955, it is operated exclusively by community volunteers. To properly preserve and maintain the museum collection and archives for the community and visitors, a part-time administrator was hired in 2014 and a part-time curator added in 2021. These hirings greatly improved the efficiency of the society and quality of the museums. Despite many fundraising events and programs, as well as our busy gift shop, the Historical Society still runs in a deficit each year. We have worked hard to find ways to increase the operational efficiency of the society, resulting in a reduction of an annual deficit from $25,000 in 2014 to approximately $12,000 in 2023, where we remain today. Our operating revenue of $120,600 does not cover our operating expenses each year of about $136,700. Like all organizations, the Historical Society cannot continue to operate at an annual deficit over time and maintain its services, property, and support to the community. Our donations of artifacts continues to grow with the responsibility of properly maintaining and displaying these pieces. The Historical Society is proud to tell our Cotuit story of the past and what it means to our village of today. Since 1950, the Cotuit Fire District has appropriated an annual stipend to the Cotuit Library. This stipend began at $300 and has grown to approximately $27,000. We are in support of the fire district appropriating monies that contribute to nonprofit organizations that have a Cotuit specific focus. Like the library, the Historical Society is an organization that provides services specifically to the Cotuit Village without the benefit of a larger donor base. We are both Cotuit-centric, and as such, our revenues are completely dependent on local memberships and donations. Our services exist primarily for the benefit of the village of Cotuit. Many other wonderful nonprofits located in the village have more of a Cape focus with a larger patron base and cast a much wider net for donations to their cause. They are more Cape-centric than Cotuit-centric. We are humbly asking the voters of the fire district to show a commitment to their Historical Society in the same way they do the library. We are asking to place this article on the warrant to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate $14,000 to support the maintenance of the Historical Society of Santuit and Cotuit.
Some questions. I was taking notes as fast as I could, but so your yearly budget is what?
Our about 136,000 is ballpark.
And I have the impression that the grand plan to expand, can you tell us what the grand plan to expand is or was?
It was, phase one, we added a museum, extended our museum, our archives. We also added an office for our curator and for people to research. We have space now for actually villagers or whoever. We have a lot of people researching books and things to come in, and we have a table and chairs and place for them to do the work. Our phase two, which we're still doing, is we already have grants and everything for that. So that's completely paid for, but that is for removing the bathroom that was installed in the homestead in 1955. And we have moved that to the gift shop, behind the gift shop. So we're restoring the Doddridge homestead back to its original state with no plumbing.
Is phase one likewise completely paid for?
Yes. Yeah, those are all capital expenses and we're not asking for any money for that. We get grants and we have annual plans and things. We don't feel that the capital campaign is not necessarily where the crunch is. The crunch is in the operating.
Questions?
I guess my question is more procedural. So there was the petition to the state legislature for the changing the enabling legislation of the district, correct?
Exactly. My assistant Carol will help.
Don't go far.
Yeah.
Carol Zace, 86 Putnam Avenue. Molly is absolutely correct. In 2023, we had a non-binding article, citizens petition that passed at the annual town meeting. That then went to this State House for approval in both the House and the Senate. That has been completed as of this past Monday, and it is scheduled to be signed by Governor Healy on Thursday, along with the other water commissioners article as well.
And would you mind reminding me what the art or what the change is?
The change is to the enabling legislation to allow funds to be allocated towards the Historic Society. This same change was done back in 1949-50 for the library. It was for the Library of War Memorials that taxpayers' money could be used for these entities. So it's the same thing for this. The article that Molly read into the record would be like the library's article, have to be voted every year.
Yep.
But it is now, we are now able to present that article. And she's asking, and I am asking as well, that the Prudential Committee put this article on in the warrant this year.
Thank you. Historical Society warrant article.
Very good. Sorry, Mary. So it's double booked.
No
Understood.
worries. So I was looking at this, so the upshot is that the governor has not signed this, but either she will sign it within the next 10 days or will become law automatically, correct?
I don't know that last part. It is on her docket to be signed on Thursday, March 26th.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not an expert on this, but my friend ChatGPT tells me that she's got 10 days to sign it or veto it, or otherwise it becomes law.
Right.
So we're not there yet, but we will be one way or the other very shortly.
Right, well, in advance of the closing of the warrant for the 2026 ADM.
So here's, procedurally, here's my comment. Under section 4 of Article 2, bear with me. Articles may be inserted into any warrant for an annual meeting by petition of 10 registered voters residing within the district by filing said petition with the district clerk before the warrant closes. I'm suggesting that given that this is a first time warrant that was opposed unanimously by the Prudential Committee when it came up to vote, that it probably makes more sense for you guys being the Historical Society to file a petition pursuant to section 4.
So you won't put it in as a Prudential Committee, this legal law, you won't put it in just as Prudential Committee. You'll make us go through this citizens petition process again.
Well, that would be, I remain, although a big fan of the Historical Society, remain opposed to this. I don't know where my fellow commissioners land, but
That's separate, that's a separate issue from at least putting it in the warrant. You can be opposed to it and not vote for it, but you can, as a Prudential Committee, still put this in as a warrant by request.
I'm not sure that that's right or the appropriate process, but let me hear from my other commissioners.
I will say that I'm a big supporter of the library and that which has been on the books for the past 70 some odd years. And I think it makes sense in terms of how the community votes to continue funding that operation, or at least a portion of that operation. I see this as a very similar issue to your point. And so I would be for putting it to a vote for the residents of the fire district to decide whether or not it is worth funding. That's my stance.
So I missed the beginning. As I said, I'm sorry, I was double booked and I got here as fast as I could. But
We should put for the record that
I joined the meeting.
Commissioner Burdick has joined.
So I missed the financial part of it, I realize that, and I won't make you rehash it for me, but what's the amount? that you're
Well,
asking?
we're about $16,000 a year. We're asking for 14.
Uh-huh,
Our operating
Same 10%,
expenses.
same as the library.
uh-huh.
Mhm.
You know, I'm too, so the idea that what we're talking about is whether we're gonna insert it into the warrant or whether it's gonna be a citizen petition, right?
Yes.
That, yes,
And it's gonna be ratified soon, it's gonna be signed theoretically,
within days theoretically.
right? So here's the thing, is, you know, I opposed it from the beginning. And I appreciate the fact that it passed at the annual district meeting. I don't know. So you want to put it on the warrant, John?
I mean, this is independent of whether or not the Prudential Committee recommends or doesn't recommend. This is simply putting it on the warrants to allow the residents to vote, and it's also independent of the amount. It could be 14,000, could be 4,000, could be 40. But depending on the vote, which I believe it would be a simple majority, or I'm not even sure what it is, but if it's the will of the community, then I would say, you know, with the changing the enabling legislation, kind of some hoops have already been jumped through in order to kind of push this forward.
Commissioner Verdict?
You have to leave it to me. I
At the very
I think
least,
I mean, you know, and though I do personally oppose it, obviously, and I would vote against it and will continue to, just because I think it's important to remember that my opposition to it is based on the continuing escalation, the escalating taxation situation that we have generally as a community. And it doesn't just have to do with the money that we spend here in the fire district, of course, because this is one of two distinct municipal entities that is taxing us all the time. And, you know, we have, and this is a little bit of a diatribe, but in the next 6 fiscal years at the town level, we have a $560 million budget deficit. We have a 25 here in the fire, that's just with the CWMP. That's our comprehensive wastewater management. In the fire district, we have a new 18 to $20 million fire station that's going up, a theoretical $25 million water filtration plant. We have continuing negotiations with the unions, the firemen's union, all of that stuff. And I know that these things are snowballing. I know that it's going to get more intense sooner than later for people. And I understand that. I appreciate the Historical Society and what they do. You know, the changes to the enabling legislation that were made in the distant past, where I was not very few of us were even alive at that point, is one thing. This has opened the door to any number of organizations putting these petitions before us, having it at the annual meeting, spreading the message, having it out there for whether it be the Cahoon Museum or the Kettleers or any of these different organizations. And that's my basic opposition to that. And that's just the way I feel. If you feel that we should put it on the agenda because the library automatically goes on the warrant every year, I guess so. I mean, if we're gonna, at this point, we don't have a choice. We can put it on the citizen petition, or we can do it. I think at this point, as much as I personally don't support the idea, I mean, we may as well, I guess. I don't.
Here's my thought. I mean, my primary concern about this was the number, and if you have come up with, meaning we didn't want to put a number on a warrant, because we're opposed to it, at least, Commissioner Burdick and I. But you put a number on it. Why don't I suggest this course of action? Before I do that, let me just say that I concur with Commissioner Burdick. While I am truly a big fan of the Historical Society, and I acknowledge the idea that it is a Kituitt-centric institution. I feel the same way he does about any number of really jewels of our community, the Kettleers, the Cahoon, the Kituitt Center for the Arts. Why don't we do this? Why don't we wait to make sure it passes? And when it does,
It has passed.
it needs to be signed by the governor.
but it has passed.
Let's make sure it gets signed by the governor.
There we go.
And when it does, why don't you send me a letter with the exact language of the warrant that you would like, and we will bring it up at our next meeting, and based on this conversation, I guess I'm going the warrant. Does that sound like a reasonable?
I think so. I mean, it was voted on, it has been ratified by the general court, it will be signed by the governor. Though, you know, I think that you may as well, right? I mean,
I think that's right. As I said, my concern was I didn't want to draft the warrant, and I certainly didn't want to put a number in. So when it gets signed, send us an email. We will acknowledge it at the next meeting, but based upon this conversation, we will include it in the warrant.
Okay. I mean, I think our point was that, can I have a counterpoint here or? No?
We probably should.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
you know what? Go ahead.
Well, you did miss my whole
right,
spiel that I gave. And my spiel was more about, like the library, the Historical Society is Katuitt centric. The Katuitt Center for the Arts, they draw from a huge pool. They have wonderful things. We're not, if they want to come to you, they're not Katuitt centric, they're Cape centric. The Cahoon is a fabulous museum. We love all of these places. We're not arguing that. We draw from a small pool. We have 300 members and we want to preserve what we do. So I guess that's my argument. And taxes are always going to be, they're always terrible and they're never going to go away. And there's never going to be a good time to spend more money.
And we started this 4 years ago,
Yeah,
prior to all these other buildings and stuff, so. I just, the Historic Society and the library are just very distinct to Katuitt and Katuitt, to Katuitions, to Katuitt life, to everything. That's very different than all the other entities that you've named. You and I have had this conversation many
Right.
times. I don't think we're gonna change your mind, but at least it will be allowed at the ADM to be voted on,
Right.
so
and
that's great.
I don't, I absolutely understand it, no question. I just feel, for my own part, that my fiduciary responsibility to the fire district is to just head these things off. And when, it's not the historical society by any means.
But will you be asking the library budget to go down this year?
Well, most libraries in the state of Massachusetts are, oh, sorry, I don't want to. Sorry.
It turns into a debate that we're not supposed to do.
Okay,
So let's not debate. You're asked to make a presentation. I said, that's fine.
I'm sorry, I introduced it by response. I apologize.
All right, can we move on to our next agenda item?
Thank you both.
Thank you.
The next agenda, item is the Water Department budget presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mark Robinson, Chair of the Board of Water Commissioners, and with me tonight is Water Commissioner Churbuck and Water Superintendent Weissman. And we have three items we want to talk about, one being the budget. Before we get to that, there are two specific things. We've sent you an email in November and again last month regarding the unfunded sick time accrual, which we've had analyzed by Attorney Michael Pierce in a November 2025 memo. He addressed the need to establish a compensated absence reserve fund. And this would enable the district to address the current unfunded liability for employees who are leaving the service either through unexpected death in office or other things. So the fund would enable the district to manage the liability so that an unanticipated payment does not unduly impact the operating budget during the year. And so This would, in a sense, be the establishing a new fund for the unfunded sick time. And you have that long memo from Attorney Pierce. I haven't had a chance to discuss this with you previously. So I wanted to make sure we get that onto the agenda.
Yep.
And,
It is the next agenda item, actually.
okay, good. Well, that's fine.
You want to do it now, or you want to do the budget first? Either one is fine with me.
Well,
Your preference.
let's talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you. Taking it out of order.
So
I don't have an agenda with me here. So.
That's absolutely fine. And this has been an issue that's been ongoing for a while, saying minutes all the way back at the end of September. The attorney's memo had a couple of possibilities. One was if the water department decides to keep this benefit, how do they go about it? One was if you decide not to keep this benefit, how do you go about it? I assume from your preliminary comments that the water department would like to keep this benefit.
Yes.
Okay. And your memo, jump in here, guys. Your memo indicated that this was established, this policy, and just to be clear to anyone who might be on the phone or in our audience here, the policy is that water department employees are allocated a specific number of sick days per annum that they can carry on over the years, any unused portion. And when they retire or die, they are entitled to 25% of that accumulated item. So the water department would like to continue that policy?
Yes.
Okay. The next issue that arose was how was that policy established? And your memo was very detailed on that. Thank you. The policy has been ongoing for a while, as you point out, in several iterations in the water department employment manual. It's not clear whether that employment manual in general or this benefit in specific was ever approved by the Prudential Committee. So to the extent that it wasn't and you wanted to continue, you probably need to move to approve that benefit. I'm seeing some nods.
I imagine.
Okay. And then the next thing, well, we should probably discuss what the numbers are involved in doing that. And then if we approve that, the next thing would be to set up a way to fund that. As I understand it from your memo, historically, this has not been used much at all over the course of many, many years. It applies only to 10-year employees, correct?
Correct.
Did have a death in.
We did have one person that did pass, but when he passed, he still had half his salary available there, so we just took it out of the salary.
Okay.
So we didn't have to go into any fund or anything, that we had the funds available to pay out the 25%.
Okay. So what are the financials involved in currently, what are the outstanding numbers for accrued unfunded sick days from the water department?
Yeah, that was in a different packet back when
We have 4 employees that are more than 10 years or so.
Correct.
Yeah.
This was from November, but $71,100.
Sounds like it.
One quick question though, I mean, in the history of it, the discussion was held on the 120 sick day time cap. That did not make it into the policy, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So that represents the 25% number of what's, that number.
As of November.
Right.
Let me throw in something else here. The reason that this so alarmed the Prudential Committee to start was that our auditors didn't understand, maybe we didn't understand, that the number they have for unfunded accrued sick days is not the number for which we are actually responsible. Their number is 100% of the accrued unfunded sick days.
It was in the gap statements, understand that it's not accrued under the standard reporting that we follow. But when we convert our numbers and our circumstance to what is called generally accepted accounting principles for municipalities, that does become a liability. And up until this year, they had been using the gross rather than the actual liability.
And has that reporting discrepancy been resolved or?
Yes, going forward, they have the actual wording and have been using. In fact, I think they picked it up last year and used it in the fiscal 24 gap report.
Okay. Mark, just so we can kind of know what we're voting on, what is the policy that you would like to continue? That is,
That we would have a 25% of unused sick time be compensated. And all employees would have 100% of accrued vacation leave.
okay, we're adding a wrinkle here.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I wonder if, and I think this was in the legal opinion, if we couldn't convince you to make the change on the date payable would be in the subsequent fiscal year.
I don't know. I'm gonna defer to my lifeline over here, who studied up more.
I believe that was our date.
Okay.
That it would be paid all fiscal year after you receive notice from the employee of their retirement.
They had to do it within a year, I believe. I'd give them a year's notice. They planned on retiring.
I'd like to credit Commissioner Turbuck for really digging down deep in this. It's a complicated one.
and I do note that the legal opinion opined that proposed policy did not run afoul of any wage laws in Massachusetts, so it is a possibility. What is the sick time policy? We're talking about the unused sick time. What is this?
What do you mean by, like,
How many?
we accrue a day and a quarter a month. And, you know, if you need it, you use it.
So math is not that good. That's 15 days a year.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Day and a quarter or day and a half?
Day and a quarter. Yeah.
Okay.
And just so I'm clear, the eligible. What,
10 years.
Yes,
10 years.
what are the exact, so 10 years,
10 years from continuous employment, yeah.
okay, in order to be.
I got one guy here who said 39.
We can, yes.
Okay, so I guess the first item to be discussed then is if this, assuming it requires a Prudential committee approval and it appears to. And it appears that was not done. I don't intend to suggest we should go back and say this was never approved by the Prudential committee, therefore it is null and void. I think we are on a. You can.
Well, you can make it retroactive, right? You could say from such and such date. How far back can you go though?
Well, we submitted the memo in November.
Right. But I mean, to bring the whole thing into compliance,
Yeah, we have the actual in the minutes when they voted on it.
right?
And then we had that, I went back and I found it in the minutes when they had voted to, put this into the policy.
Meaning the water commission.
Correct.
Commission.
Correct, yeah.
voted into the
And
policy.
I don't know why it never got brought to you guys. I think at the time they were under the opinion that water department didn't need to come to you for a water department contract, and they considered it a contract with us. And the bylaws states that, so I think that's what they were thinking at the time.
So just move to do it to have that be an approved policy. And that's that.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Just so
Because-
everyone understands why we're being so careful about this. We didn't follow the steps we probably should have. So we're trying to make sure that we do it right this time. B, just so we understand why we're concerned. Two reasons. One is any benefit should be accrued. That is appear in our books. And that had not happened, and that needs to be remedied. The other issue, and I think the ship has probably sailed on this, is there are objections to unaccrued sick day policies because they are accrued at the time, but they are paid out at retirement when presumably the person is making considerably more than the person was making at the time they accrued. So it is a benefit, perhaps not a gigantic benefit, but it is a benefit to the employees. That having been said, would it make sense for a motion to approve the Katuitt Fire District's Water Department unused sick time policy? Was that
As
sufficient?
restated,
As,
as restated, according to the directions of the attorney, and what makes sense, that the payable, you document that it's payable in the subsequent year.
yeah, we needed some exact language. That's what that's.
Well, say as written, reference in the record. Because one of the other issues was that the policy didn't really appear clearly in your handbook, is that so? It wasn't really written down anywhere either,
I have
right?
that in the minutes too, when you guys voted on it again. That was, I don't have my minutes here. That was probably two months ago, 3 months ago. They had,
We had reaffirmed it.
correct.
Okay, would it be fair to say move to approve the water department's unused accrued sick time policy as stated in, and then what is the,
November 25, memo by Attorney Pierce. And the handbook.
let's go with the handbook.
Yeah.
When would, this would be the employee,
The current employee handbook.
current employee handbook?
Yeah, they could change it. Yeah.
As is that right, Chris?
Yes. It has the 120 days and it says to pay every time and for,
Okay.
and this end of a,
But it does not say anything about when the payments would.
no, it doesn't say anything about when the payment gonna be due. It's not, it does not say the new policy that we have now. We have to have that written up and put into the new, we just had it reprinted 2 years ago, so we'll just have to get something that we can staple to the page, everybody. We can send that out to you if you
We
want.
also need language retroactive until what date?
The end of the year
Their meeting.
that you dug out.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
95?
It's 1994, which is when it was brought up,
yeah,
at least according to your notes. I'm not sure if that's when it was voted, but there's 1995, a mention there also.
Let's say as of January 18th, 1995. And then it will be subject to payment being made.
Following fiscal year.
Rest, does it matter? You said as amended, take your anniversary date. Does that have any impact?
it's only a couple months. I'm the only one still grandfathered in. It's
Yeah,
still,
we're talking about the grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems to be the minimus.
If we do, you can go on to add as amended. So if there is any financial impact, it doesn't impact Chris.
Yeah.
So where would I put in amended? So far, I move to approve the water department's unused accrued sick time policy as stated in its current handbook, retroactive to January 18th, 1995, subject to payment being made the following fiscal year after retirement or death. Where would the as amended go?
I think it would go. We were reading it, I said, that's where it should go, but I'm trying to remember.
Move to approve that, and again, we're just still talking about drafting the language. Move to approve the water department's unused accrued sick time policy as stated in the current handbook. There, as amended.
No, because it wasn't amended there, it was amended
Right.
from the original start date. When.
Retroactive to January 18th, 1995,
As amended.
as amended. So the intention of this, I think our draftsmanship is pretty good, is to approve of the longstanding policy retroactive to the time that it was first approved by the water commissioners. Period, I think. Was that?
Right, but then I think we also wanted to have a reserve fund set up
I think that's another motion.
separate.
That's a separate motion.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make this motion, move.
Sorry, Mark,
Yep.
just to be, so I did see this in the notes, which was December 1994. The employee handbook was revised and under section 13.4 stated the unused sick leave policy, which we're discussing. So, I mean, we had mentioned January 1995.
Well, that's when they voted. The January 18th, 1995 is when they voted.
Oh, I see. You're right.
This was
A month previous.
a month previously.
Sorry.
It was
Yes,
January 18th, they approved it.
correct.
Okay, so with all this discussion, I think it's clear what we're attempting to do. I move to approve the water department's unused accrued sick time policy as stated in its current handbook, retroactive to January 18th, 1995, as amended, subject to payment being made the following fiscal year after retirement or death. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That has passed unanimously. Now, and this is where I start getting a little fuzzy. How, and I'm looking at Mr. Perone for his advice, how do we fund this currently unfunded liability?
What I would recommend is that we establish a designated stabilization fund for the payment of eligible accrued sick pay. And then we set a funding policy so that we're not gonna take $76,000 in 1 year. We amortize that over, I would say, a 3-year period. Does that sound reasonable to the water department?
Okay, so let me work on my drafting and move to establish a designated stabilization fund to pay eligible accrued sick time of water department to be funded over a 3-year period. And then how would it be funded after that? Takes us 3 years to get to this 71,000.
Actually, each year you'll have a moving target, so if we would say amortized over 3 years based on the current eligible sick time. And what, there's Jen has a title for that. I think we were changing the title.
Unaccrued, yeah.
Because it wasn't really accrued sick pay, it was eligible vacation pay.
Compensated absence,
Yeah,
Yeah,
compensated absence, that'd be the right word.
that would be it.
Well, let's
But
use,
no, wait a
let's
minute,
use the same, let's use the
No,
same language for this one as we did
There's
for
a
the last.
distinction. What Jen prepares is the gross eligibility. It is not the sick pay, and that's what I'm trying to make the distinction. That you would base the amortization on the eligible accrued vacation pay. We'll label it ourselves and then, and then she can follow that terminology.
For a 3-year period,
For the eligible accrued sick pay.
Now, how are you gonna, so wouldn't this have to be a warrant article? How do we create?
Oh, yeah.
This is what you're talking about, right? This is not. So what are you, we're discussing the language for it, and we're gonna vote on whether, we're gonna vote on it at the time that we get to the warrant article to create the stabilization fund, right?
yeah, probably that makes sense.
Because we can't create a stabilization fund.
Yes, you can.
We can, but we can't fund it.
You can create it, but then of course it will go in the warrant to be funded
Right,
because
so you're proposing that we create the stabilization fund itself now and then fund it late at the annual district meeting, that's what
at
we're.
the annual district
Is
meeting.
that what you're suggesting, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you. That's very precise.
so what would we call this stabilization fund?
Accrued sick pay stabilization. Accrued water department stabilization.
accrued liability for compensated absences. Is what they had put in.
Vacation pay,
Okay,
Yeah,
holiday pay.
accrued, we're gonna
So
call it
I'd really
accrued.
rather stick to the vacation pay because that's what this covers.
This does not involve vacation pay.
I'm sorry?
This does not involve vacation. pay.
no,
No, it does not.
Yeah, I just want to make, Mark, you mentioned earlier on that was, that's a separate topic. We're gonna keep this.
I think that's covered by.
This is the sample submitted by Pearson.
This still has the same issues in mind. I mean, hey, this is a reasonable way to approach it, but it still has the same issue that this problem presented to us at the beginning, which was that it can be voted down and
Yeah.
we still have liability that we can't pay.
Uh,
Do you know what I mean by that? Not to say that that would occur, but that was kind of why we got so panicked about it to begin with, because we wouldn't have legally been able to pay if something had say, as we
You're right.
discussed.
we're gonna have to revisit it if this happened. Talking about, the union, our union is negotiating and what happens if the voters don't then approve the budget. It's never happened.
Chair, if I may,
Yeah,
it will be in their budget. So if it's rejected, they're rejecting their budget. And I don't think that'll happen.
Because previous payouts were
Because it's gonna be
accounted
a
for
plan,
within the
just like
budget.
we have the USDA
Well-
funding, that was a contract. This is a similar thing, it will be simply,
So now wouldn't that the water commissioners create the stabilization fund and then fund it as
I can,
their budget and their course? So
can create the fund.
wouldn't it have been more direct to just have it be well, I know, I guess, no, that makes sense. To do that. You're gonna have to, because you're gonna have to add to it continuously based on what the liability is, obviously, and that'll be done in the annual appropriations process for them. So we'd strictly vote to create the fund.
Yeah.
Then this will have to be built into the budget and then will be voted on as a part of the budget, not as a separate, because a lot of times when we add to stabilization, we do those as separate one.
I think the first time we need to establish the stabilization fund, if Ray tells us that's the way to approach it. And that is when the builders could say, yeah, we're not gonna fund that.
I just want to say one thing, it can also go down. We
Right.
keep talking about going more higher every year, but
Well,
someday I'm not gonna be here, and when I'm not here, it's gonna go down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, that makes me sad.
For me, it doesn't really, our represent is so much is in it, but
Right.
it just creates these strange catch 22s or double binds that And but I'm saying just for this one time. And then we make it once it's established, that's fine.
Do we need
But even then, wouldn't it be funded after the vote?
Yeah, if they vote, but what I'm
If it's
saying is what if
included in
everybody
their
says
budget
they-
for next year?
They revised the budget to
Yeah.
incorporate 1/3 of the 71,000, which is the current eligible. And they put that in their budget. That funds the vehicle, the stabilization fund that we create here, that you folks create.
So the only change is for the next 3 years, their budget, which we all vote on, would be $25,000 higher, correct?
Yes.
into the stabilization fund.
Yes.
And
I was
then-
just raising the philosophical point that what happens if people vote it down, just as he said with you had the, it was just something that occurred to me. It's obviously a highly unlikely eventuality, so.
Do we need to have a stabilization fund, Brian? Can they just not?
That's the only way under our accounting rules that you can accrue. I can't accrue a liability. I don't have any legal mechanism to do that. The only way I can do that is actually put cash into a bank account, into a CD, because of
Very good.
Okay, I'm about to make a motion. Before I do, I want to make 2 points, one of which just went right out of my head. That $71,100 number is in a November 19th, 2025.
We can update it for
So
you.
it needs to be updated.
We can update it.
While we're on the topic, we do also need to amend the current handbook, and then at which point it would come, so we retroactively approved it and are signed off on it, and then that,
We have the wording in our notes in one of our minutes of what they voted on probably 3 months ago at a meeting. So I can go back and get that. I'd have to get that to you tomorrow, the actual reading of it. And that's just, it's already been voted on. It's just gonna be sent to the printer to send us, to put into the page.
Okay, the other thing is, Ray, would it make sense for these guys and possibly us to review the current handbook and determine or assure that there are no other unfunded liabilities?
Public document.
Hot Mark, see a friend.
You're welcome to it.
Let's
It's probably in the bookcase behind Jim's.
Yeah, I got a PDF. I can send you a copy.
put it this way, you guys are supposed to get the Prudential Committee's approval of these things, so this time, I think we're being pretty damn nice about it. The next time, maybe not.
We've had a handbook for decades.
Yeah, I know, but it is not incumbent on the Prudential Committee to sleuth out possible unfunded liabilities. It's your guys to make sure that you report any unfunded liabilities. So if I could get that, that agreement that you will do that, I would very much
I
appreciate
can
it.
send you a copy. It's been looked at by.
I'm not interested in doing it myself. I'm interested in having you guys do it and tell us if you think there are any unfunded liabilities.
Okay,
other
yeah,
than-
I mean, we had Attorney Pierce look at it. We
That'd
can
be-
go through it,
That'd
so
be great, because there may be more.
it might even just be a request to him to, he reviewed it, put through and everything else.
I will defer that to you.
Okay.
I move to establish a designated accrued water department sick pay, strike that. I move to establish a designated water department accrued sick pay stabilization fund to pay eligible accrued sick time of the water department to be funded over a 3-year period.
That's it?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 we're creating another catch-22. All stabilization funds require 2/3 majority.
Right, at the annual district meeting. And like, this is something, since we don't have a clerk right now, I didn't realize it's later. Sorry. you first.
Even the person reserve fund is the same thing, stabilization or reserve?
Yes.
It's just the word.
Okay, it's just a word. I just want to make sure, yeah.
But
All stabilization funds require two-thirds majority.
Charlie used to always tell us when we required a roll call vote for things.
Yeah, I mean,
And just in the course of our normal business, because there were different requirements, but I'm not 100%. For different types of votes.
right,
Like, does a stabilization fund, does that require a roll call vote? Like,
Well, I think
I don't know that it does. I'm just saying, this is one of the continuing no clerk problems that we're gonna have.
clerk is on the agenda, but to get the main focus on this, does this require a 2/3 majority?
all money out of the stabilization fund requires, any stabilization fund requires a two-thirds majority. It's a catch-22. The water department has a stabilization fund that we contribute to each year. And it's designated for water department obligations. We could propose someday to use that, and the voters could turn us down.
Does it
I
have to
don't
be a?
believe you can specify that a stabilization fund only requires a majority vote. I think it is a requirement, a state requirement, that it takes a two-thirds majority. I don't know of any other way that we can put funds aside. I checked with my Department of Revenue representative, but I don't know of any other way that we can set funds aside for this payment other than the stabilization fee fund. Excuse me.
And we do need to set aside funds for these payments.
We do, because we
Yeah.
could,
I'm just saying.
Because of the accounting rules, they can't carry it. Like, they can't fund it a certain amount each year, fiscal year, and then
what do you mean?
not expend it.
I don't mean to be a smart aleck, but what do you mean fund?
Well, in their budget request, they request, and it doesn't outside of the stabilization fund. They request, assuming, as if they were assuming they were going to spend the money each year. So they in their, sorry, you're the accountant.
Right now, in their budget, is $15,500 for a required USDA maintenance fund. That, to use that, does not require two-thirds majority.
No, that's because it says it's a reserve. That's why I asked if a reserve fund is any different.
I don't,
A stabilization fund, maybe that was a very smart question.
That's, he's got, chapter 40, section 13T.
can I ask you to defer this until next meeting, and I'll research this with the Department of Revenue to see if there's some way that we can set dollars aside to cover this liability without subjecting future disbursements to the two-thirds majority vote.
I would assume that you would very much like us to make that inquiry.
Please, yep.
He cites Massachusetts general law in there regarding.
Yeah, it's in the report. He says in there, and I think did you say you had it too? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm confused about, I thought we voted to establish the stabilization fund, correct?
Mhm.
But the funding would be through the water department budget,
Right.
which does require a vote, but that requires a vote on the entire budget, so it'll simply be a line item.
Yes.
So the 2/3 majority that you're referencing is for which fund?
The creation of a.
Not
Creation.
the creation, no. not
No, the
creation
payout
of the fund.
The payout,
Disbursements from
dispersement.
the fund.
Oh,
I see.
so if somebody makes a claim.
Yeah, someone makes a claim, we would put it in the budget. That disbursement would go in the budget as a disbursement from the fund. It would not impact their budget. It
So,
would,
and
we
this,
would put it in our operating budget with an offset funding. They could vote down the distribution of those funds.
first retires a year later, this comes up, we own for sick pay, it requires a 67% vote. Correct?
So his whole legal rationale
Yeah, verbalized.
That's where we're at right now. If we create the fund, put money in it, Chris retires, we come up to the next fiscal year, because that's what the new manual will say. And we say we're gonna pay whatever it is, $40,000 to Chris. And the voters say no. We're now stuck with a liability. Or an ERISA liability that we can't pay for.
Okay, so we're gonna check to
We can't
see,
disperse.
you're gonna check to see
Yeah.
if there's some way we can do
I'm
that.
gonna take them through this, what we are trying to achieve. What we believe is in the best interest of the district. And see if there's a mechanism to do it.
Okay, and the mechanism would be such that we would not have to get a 2/3 vote or even a majority vote every time someone retired, or
I'll
would?
find out. I do not,
Okay,
right now, I don't know the answer.
all right, so baby steps, we have the one motion that we're all okay with. It sounds like I need to withdraw the motion that we just voted upon,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
We can't withdraw it, so we'll lose it. We'll have to bring it, we'll have to, I don't even know how that works.
You just made a motion, you want to
But we
rescind.
voted.
You want to rescind that vote. It's called rescinded.
Yeah, it can't be like what just happened here. We talked about it 10 more minutes and decided it was a bad idea.
This is where we're gonna get in trouble with not having a clerk.
You know what? Like, we're gonna talk about the clerk when we get to that.
I know, but I'm not saying it's a
You know,
I'm saying it's like there are real implications to doing the votes wrong. And I don't think you can just turn around and say, let's rescind that vote. That's. I
Yes,
don't even-
yes, you can.
All right,
Yes, you
I'll
can.
take your word for it.
We rescind debt votes. When we offer, we're gonna be rescinding $10,000 of the water main vote that we took a couple of years ago, or reallocating it to the new water main. You can and do rescind votes.
Okay. On the understanding that we can, I'm going to move to rescind the previously voted upon motion to establish a designated water department accrued sick pay stabilization fund to pay eligible accrued sick time of the water department to be funded over a 3-year period. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimously rescinded. We will put that on the agenda for next,
Based on Ray's research.
and have a further discussion based on Ray's research.
Thank you, sure.
Really, just to reiterate, Jen would be the perfect person to go through that employee and market determine if there are any other unfunded. Because, this is complicated and important to get exactly right. Okay, we made one step. Now, the next department or next agenda is the water department budget.
So it's being shown up here on the screen. This was approved by us at our last meeting a week ago. And just to highlight the overall budget growth is approximately 6%. Really 3 categories: labor salaries is 1, maintenance is 2nd, operations is a 3rd. And the approximately half of the budget is taken up with salaries, overtime, and on call. So the growth in that sector of labor and salaries is less than 2%. And the reasons are that we have stuck to a strict COLA adjustment for this year with no other increases based on merit, which we have asked for in previous years. We also have a junior operator, and this decrease there from last year because of the fact that we've had some turnover in that position, so we've saved some money basically. But he expects to have some small increases based on his certifications and licensing this year. So that's a 1.7% increase for the staff. The maintenance is a bigger jump of about 24%, but these are relative to a smaller number of 123,000 up to 152,000. The deviances are for the tanking inspections. We have 2 overhead tanks. They need to be inspected for integrity and cleanliness. And that's increased from 50,000 last year of the budget to 65,000. Chris can address details if you'd like. The other major increase is the water meter replacement. And those meters have become more expensive like every other piece of equipment nowadays. And so the budget request is for move from 10,000 to 15,000. So those are the major deviances in that sector. And then under operations, we have a 7% increase. The major deviances are the computer software to include our meter reading software, which has been very helpful in making the department more efficient, to have that more computerized. The obviously gasoline, we added a couple $1,000s to that. Don't have to explain why. And the other than that, it's a fairly standard costs, not many increases in the other budget items. So I'm happy to answer questions, but I probably would defer to Chris for details.
I think it all looks good from my perspective. Makes sense.
So we could, based on your research and your addressing the stabilization fund issue, we could add 25,000. We should note that the department revenue, most recent calculation was 1.4 million relative to the budget request of 993,000. So the department is self-funding in terms of operations. And we've taken great care in addressing the water rates to make sure that those using the most water for the tied mostly to lawn irrigation in the summer are paying much higher fees than the standard small household. We have not seen a decrease in revenues. We've seen only increases. So I think our rate structure seems to be working. And that's about it.
Not to put too fine a point on it, Mark, but there's always those nasty things like debt, employee benefits.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
We understand.
It's also included in
So,
that.
I mean, when you say operation, I understand
Yeah.
that, but
Well,
sometimes
the
people-
budget that's been presented here. So I'm sorry.
I mean, I love you for generating that water revenue, but it saves the taxpayer a great deal. But there are those other expenses.
Sure.
And you mentioned the software, and I don't have that in front of me right now. But is there no money left in the software article from last year?
I
I'm
don't
trying-
have that with me. I can check.
I think I have it, and I'll check and see if there's any space left in that. So we could, also save a penny or two on that regard.
Yeah, because that was originally this cost of the skier was originally part of when we installed the new software.
Yeah.
That was paid for at the time. This is the ongoing yearly cost.
Oh, it's, oh,
Yeah, so this is why it's in there, yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah. And then we have a capital budget behind that. And a little harder to project out 5 years, as you might expect, but we've done the best job we could. Just looking at FY 27, which is coming up. We have encouraged Chris to continue to address water main replacement section by section. Very expensive. $300 linear foot to replace a water main pipe down the street. And we did a 700-foot section last year on Lewis Pond Road. That was about $250,000.
Yeah, yeah, it was
500 feet.
yeah.
Ridiculous. But these are the costs that we're looking at. So we want to do a section this year. Chris will continue to do further studies to prioritize. We have some pipes in the ground that are still original from 1936.
I take it that's not a good thing.
Well, he keeps them going with glue and Band-Aids, I think.
What is the life of,
They say 100+ years. I mean, you get places in Boston that still has wooden stuff up there, wooden mains and everything, yeah. So they've been going, but you can see what happens when they do go. It's always the middle of the night. It's time when you're not expecting it, you know, and sometimes they can run for a long time. You not know it because we're so sandy here that it just goes right into the ground.
We've addressed this at some of our recent meetings, asking Chris questions, peppering him with questions about our water system. And the older pipes were the oldest pipes, the ones that run down Main Street.
Yeah. I just found that, by the way.
So if those fail, it affects all the feeders going out to the side.
Yeah, it came from the water department down 28, went into Newtown Road a little bit towards Katuitt, and went all the way down to just
Ocean View.
beyond Ocean View and did the Ocean View loop there.
And that was to serve the hotel,
Count number one was the hotel down at Crocker,
Hotel Pines.
yeah, Hotel Pines. And we once said the owner was on the water board, but
so is the criteria for replacing largely age?
oh, right now, this actually that I have earmarked for water quality. We have a certain place that has kind of a Venturi effect going on where it has larger pipes coming in and it has smaller pipes. So the water's speeding up through there and it's kicking up debris and they get a lot of dirty water complaints in that area. I'd like to put a larger water main in there to feed, so that keeps the water moving at the same speed in the mains coming out. This would be over in Captain Isaiah area, Truman.
So I see that the capital budget is relatively modest this year compared to next fiscal year, or projecting a pretty big leap.
Right, and that's reflecting the 400,000 for the water main replacement.
We didn't put a figure in there for next year for water main replacement because I have to get a design made usually
For 2028.
for 2028, yeah, and I had to get an idea of what I want to do and how big the jobs would be to design it. This last one we had done, the engineering firm we put in, we went out and helped us with Lewis Pond. They had some interns for the summer. We actually got the plans that I'm looking at done for free through their interns. So just for maybe to keep us with them and everything else, but they've done a lot for us. And so it's good to know now, maybe this summer, if they're in there, I can get some more interns. I won't have to come for money. But next year, they get another summer intern, hey.
And I see a line item now for source water protection, wastewater treatment. To what does that refer?
Yeah, so the top line there is the imaginary treatment plant, not a wastewater treatment plant, a water quality treatment plant. And so the water coming out of the wells into the system, if it needs to be treated, that's the approximate cost. $1 million of design and 20 million to build it.
Actually, I was talking about, that's 2 lines below.
Okay.
Those are the systems and what they
The
want.
source water protection. I'm sorry, so they're actually to be reviewed together because we're hopeful that we've identified the most significant proximate sources of contamination to the main well field, which are subdivisions south of Route 28, between Route 28 and the well field. And so we're looking, we had just recently the home rule petition, thanks to Commissioner Turbuck, bird dogging it through the legislature has been approved. Has it been signed by the governor? Probably not. Thursday? We'll find out. So that would enable the district to fund basically water coming out of the houses, not the water going into the houses, but the water coming out of the houses in the specified zone between Route 28 primarily and the well field. Yeah. So that there are several subdivisions. I don't need to name them. That are their septic tanks are leaching down directly into the water table, going toward the wells. And so the thought is that if we could work with those people over time to provide some modifications to septic systems, alternative systems, nitrogen reducing systems, that we could buy us some time at the least, and perhaps prevent the requirement of a water treatment plant. So what we found is that septic system leachate contains PFAS. We've all read about that. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. It also includes household chemicals, viruses, things that are transmitted through the water table, flowing towards the wells because of the geology and the pumping, the suction of the pumps. So this would be taking some proactive steps in that particular area to see if we could engage with landowners on a voluntary basis to help us address some of this by subsidizing it. And so it's still in the planning stage. That's why it's out into 28 to start. But now that we have the legislation approved, we think that we can design some, address some techniques that might be useful to people. So we had a nice forum last, was it fall, summer, spring, August? We had a nice, well-attended meeting at the church, the Civic Association, to address some of these alternatives and kind of bring people up to speed on the types of things that are available, that are effective in reducing contamination coming out of septic leachate. We don't feel confident that the town sewer is going to reach Katuitt anytime soon. Not in my lifetime. Maybe some younger people's here. But so we're looking for steps that could be taken in the meantime that might be good. So if we are successful with reducing contaminant flows toward the wells in proximity, maybe we can avoid the eventual mandate from the state to build a water treatment plant.
But
$20 million.
These are still a couple of years out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, we know that Hyannis is treating its water because of PFAS contamination. And is calm or
Barnstable's building one right now
Barnstable's building one now.
with the new EPA regulations. COM is going to be required to do something to alter their problem too. They're one of the ones that because when they went through the new regulations, they stayed where they were fine, but it seems they dropped them. Now they're above and they have to do something about it.
And what's the time frame under which they must do something about it?
I believe that the current administration has froze anybody from having to do anything for a year or two, something right now, those EPA regulations. So they're still going off the old ones and they're giving them more time to do it. Originally they had a year to start to put out plans. Now I think he's gone up to 2 to 3 years or more.
The mandate would be from the state, not the EPA, is that right?
Correct. Well, yes, the state would require that you do it, but they would be using EPA regulations or recommendations.
Right. So fortunately, we started monitoring for PFAS before practically anybody else on the Cape, because we were aware and concerned about it. Before the state started requiring us to test it, we were already testing for it. And so we have establish a good baseline. So far, our counts are under the limits. For the most part, we had a couple of hits, but they've gone down again. But we don't have zero. So it's out there. It's in the environment. It's everywhere. I saw something in the news that they found PFAS on Mount Everest. So
I just have one question, and it's not even really germane. I mean, it is, but I realize you're still in the planning process, but what sort of system would you be able to put in, say, in between Mariner Circle and the wellheads that would mitigate PFAS? You know what I mean? Isn't there nothing really that does that?
we don't know. We know that we know we could handle
Yeah.
nitrogen, but we're not sure about, I think Commissioner Horsley, who's our expert on this,
Yeah.
says that we just haven't found the right system yet that can deal with
Right.
PFAS.
Well, that's one of the big,
But PFAS can be addressed at the tap with carbon filtration.
right, which is what they use.
So if we could figure out a way to do carbon filtration in septic systems, that might help.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I deal with it all the time and I listen to it all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And, you know, when it comes to they call them IA now, it's nitrogen reduction systems, and, you know, they don't deal with anything but nitrogen essentially, which is the issue. But, like, we don't even, as far as those are concerned, like, there's no standard from DEP about what is the system to use, you know? So how do you, you know, it's just still, I realize it's right out there on the cutting edge, and I'm just curious to see what develops. You know what I mean?
I like the fact that we're on the cutting edge in Katuitt. We always have been in many ways, and we should continue to be. We have behind the stage here our maps that show the specific capture area of land uses leading into the well field.
Zone 2.
Zone 2.
Yeah.
It's a very well defined based on computer modeling that Tom Camberry has done for us. So we're spending a lot of time and effort to try to figure out what's the most cost-effective way to deal with it. And it might not be everybody in that neighborhood. It might be specific.
Right, the civil particle trends that are coming down that he's identified with parcels of
Anyway, we didn't want to hide the fact that this could be on the horizon. It's not mandated now. It's just, we have to think about it. You know, we've got 2 fairly new tanks. So those are being, we don't have to worry about those for another 20, 30 years.
at least.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So, but this would be a huge capital, of course.
Any opportunities for combining with other water districts?
That would make sense, wouldn't it? I'm told that the plumbing doesn't work.
We would have to put a dedicated line to their treatment plant from here, if something like that would happen. Right now, when you have filtration, you have to, the line leaving your well has to go through that line. We're talking most places have put a central, like where we have 3 stations down in Sampson's Mill Road. We put one central station down there and plumb all 3 of our pumping stations down there to it with one line coming out to feed to the town. So for that to happen, if we had, like, say, COM put one in for us to do anything, we'd have to truck the water over to them to have it done and ship it back, basically.
Yeah, well, when we get to that time, we'll study the cost effectiveness of each. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Sooner, better, later.
It makes sense to us as laymen. It doesn't make sense to him as a professional.
Understood, absolutely.
So anyway, so for the fiscal year 2027, we talked about water main replacement, the well cleaning. We have 5 wells that are cleaned on a regular basis. Generator replacement. We learned during the blizzard a month ago that generators are very important for his pumps because they don't work without electricity. Then you don't have water in the village.
Did they fail? Did the generators fail?
Well, anything with propane on it did fail, because it was so cold. And then they were running so hard, they were freezing up.
Oh, no.
So we're in talks now with how we can prevent that from ever happening again. But we do have one that's natural gas. And it did fail in the beginning because the wall of snow, they sucked in and got the engine all covered in snow and shorted out a regulator in there. We had it replaced within a day and a half, turned that on and it ran perfectly the whole time we were out of power. And that actually is like my largest pump, which I can get 1,000 gallons a minute out of, and something like that, pumping 1,000 gallon a minute feeds us down, no problem at all.
Yeah, I didn't lose my water, so that was good.
Yeah.
We were lucky it was during the winter, not the summer.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have froze up in the summer.
Yeah.
We could have a lot more people here in the summer.
Yeah, well, the propane would have worked in the summer.
The cybersecurity 55,000 is a continuation of a 5-year contract. Those are the major requests. And as I said, if you take out the 400,000 for the water main replacement, the capital budget is not much different this year than last.
Yeah, if you want, I can kind of, one of those generators is the one that the mice got into and cleaned us out. We have to buy a new one. Yeah, they replace it. The 11,000 is to put one on natural propane gas that we already have. Right now, we have a portable generator, and you gotta take it out, you gotta start it, and then you gotta plug it in, put fresh paint, it's a pain. So we want to get a 10 kW to put down there. A line tank cleaning is an actual batching facility that we have at our office. We have, I think it's 2,200 gallons of 18% solution. And it's just getting scale build up bigger and bigger, and we're getting to put less and less in. So I didn't think it was going to cost that much. I went to get a price the other day and it came back at almost 20 grand. And I was like, whoa, I thought I was going to take that out of my budget. So that's why this is in here. And like you said, with the cybersecurity, the sonic wall, I know it's a small amount, but Ray, you'd asked us for anything like that to go through. That's why it's in here. That's something that has to be replaced at the office.
How much? I'm sorry, has to be replaced?
It's $2,200 is the estimate we have on it.
No, how frequently does it have to be replaced?
Oh, I think every 10 years, something like that. Yeah.
What's a sonic wall, Chris?
It's basically a firewall. It's just to protect one computer from the other, or something, I believe.
So that's our report on that. The only other thing I wanted to mention was that, speaking of PFAS, we have joined a class action suit, as you may know, against the manufacturers of those forever chemicals. And there have been settlements arranged by some of the major companies. I think 3M was one.
Yep, 3M. Right now, Tyco, Base.
So our little split of the settlement is so far $193,000. We expect more coming in this calendar year. And we'd like to have, take advantage of the legislatures establishing a special revenue fund to put those proceeds from the settlements into, so that we'll have money to address PFAS as they arise over time in the district.
That's
Yeah.
been done.
Yeah, I was wondering, yeah, it has been done.
The current year funds haven't been moved in, shame on me.
Okay.
We'll move those in. No, 193 will be in a stabilization fund and a special reserve fund, subject to all the things we just talked about, which is another example that I'll bring to Department of Revenue. But here we have a award for damages.
Yeah.
Why should that be subject to 2/3 vote when we need to address the remedies?
Yeah.
So another good example.
You know what I just thought about, and you can't give me the answer right now, I'm sure, but is our fire districts, can they enact water infrastructure improvement funds, WIFs? Have you heard of those? They're relatively new, but it's like water infrastructure improvement funds. So it's something, it's like, it is like framed the same way the community preservation fund is framed, like a surcharge, a tax surcharge that you can apply, that it can be used specifically for water infrastructure improvements.
It's kind of like our meter fund.
We have a stabilization fund based on meter fees.
But it was something that we've been talking about at the town, but should they do it? But that's, I didn't know, I don't know, some things don't include like town structures and fire district structures, they come in, you know what I mean? There's some things that don't interchange, but I'm just thinking about your capital needs as we go forward. If we had a water infrastructure improvement fund type scenario, if that were a possibility to offset the extreme expenses.
How much is in our little meter stabilization?
I'll probably see that when you put your budget.
This is like a 3% surcharge or something like that. It's something akin to the community preservation fund.
Do we have a sheet for revenues that come through?
Anyway, that was just.
We don't, but Ray does, Ray could tell us on
Okay.
that. How much,
Who was asking?
how much money's in the meter reserve fund?
Oh, is that what you call the water department?
Yeah, when you get the meter count, you put so much in a year. I think it's $20 per
$20
account.
per meter, excuse me.
Yeah.
Must be a few $100,000 by now.
Close to, I would say, yes.
But it'd be a lot of money. Come down to it, would be just 3% surcharge on it. Stands bill.
It's really for emergencies.
Yeah. But those water infrastructure improvement fund, which is like, well, one of the ways we're gonna try to fund the sewer. So that should be a significant amount of money per year. Anyway, just a thought.
Anything else, Commissioner? Thank you.
I think we've exhausted you and your team. Thank you.
Thank
Not at all.
you very
Not
much.
at- Thanks, Chris.
What's the next thing?
Okay, the next agenda item is clerk, which is a very important and increasingly timely issue that we need to resolve. I would, if he is still interested, I would like to see Mr. Wolak take on that duty. This is where I'm hoping I hear yes from you.
I would gladly take my hand at doing the town clerk, if the commissioners so chief.
The timing on this is critical, not to be, rude about it, but we don't have anyone else. And frankly, Ryan was my first choice, so we've kind of gone around and around, and what was my first choice? It's a challenge, and I've told Ryan it's a challenge. It's a lot because this is your first year.
Yeah, I think my only reservation would be I haven't even seen the process in whole without the clerk, right, to have the responsibility of the clerk. I feel like that would just add to some pressure, but there is no other option at this point.
Well, as I said, you were my first choice before we exhausted all the others. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm still at my first choice. It's gonna be a steep learning curve, but I should let the other commissioners speak and see what the thought is, but I think Ryan is an excellent choice, and our best choice. You're gonna have a steep learning curve.
I'll say I agree with that, and just kind of one word on this particular, election, your first year. I know a lot of people in attendance to this meeting have offered their services, and I think within the community, we do have a wealth of knowledge and experience from previous meetings and warrants and doing all that stuff. And while it may not be perfect, I do think having that knowledge close to the fire district, and it'll be a lot of learning, both in terms of what requires a vote, how much. I still don't know very much of that, but I'm very much supportive of the idea of having someone close to the district, if not within the district, at which point we can kind of expand the role, change the role from assistant treasurer, assuming our treasurer is on board with that.
Well, I think it's something we need. I think that there are resources around that can get us through the learning curve, because it will be steep.
Well, So I did speak with the town clerk, as I
Yeah.
may have told some of you, and there was nobody forthcoming from that, but she will be happy to teach you everything you need to know about it,
Okay.
because that's what she said.
Makes me feel calm.
Yeah, I mean, she knows it inside and out, obviously, and when I spoke with her about trying to find somebody that was in the clerk business already, there's nothing developed, but she'll be happy to help you. So if you wanna, I can, introduce you to her if you don't already know her.
It's,
Ann Craig.
I've spoken to her.
Yeah, and she's very approachable and she knows it inside and out.
I
She'll
would-
at least be able to give you set you up with the documentation that you're gonna require in order to get the election out of the way.
Yeah,
And then the intricacies, she's very easy to talk to and she knows it inside and out.
that'd be awesome to have the introductions of.
So I mean, I think that we'll be in a good position if. My only reticence to have you do it initially isn't because I don't think you can do it, but I thought it would be better to have an independent person. But since there's not independent, is an outside of the finance, as I may have said. So, I mean, I think you'll do fine. We'll, and as I was saying, I wasn't trying to be churlish before I was saying, but there are a lot of intricacies that we're ignorant to. And that opens us up to a series of liabilities by not doing it right. So, I mean, and some of the things stick in my head and then I feel like I know that, but without Charlie, he's always been sitting right there to say.
Yeah.
What the situation was. So I haven't made it my business to know exactly
So
everything.
developing those resources is gonna be a huge part of what we're asking you. Certainly starting with the bylaws, which I'm sure you've been through with great detail. But there are other sources,
Yeah.
and, well, we may be relying on each other a little more than we typically would in a given year, but we've gotta get clerk up to speed, and I think Ryan's the guy to do it, so.
Great. I move that we appoint Ryan Allett, clerk of the Katuitt Fire District.
We're gonna pay him?
We're gonna pay him, whatever the going rate is.
Want to talk about what the going rate is? It has been, great, what, $3,500, $4,000?
Oh, yeah, 4,000.
It's been,
Is what we paid, 39 something we paid Charlie last year.
okay, and has that been pretty static for a fair amount of time?
Based on some cost of living, and then there was adjustment when, he was no longer doing the minutes, an adjustment down. But it's been in that relative range.
I would propose $6,000 annually, $6,000 annually.
Okay,
I would like to hear from my fellow commissioners.
What do they get in West Barnstable? 10,000?
10,000.
10,000.
What do they get in Barnstable?
Yeah, that's for, I'll let Ray talk about that gentleman.
Dan Ferber, she's a resident of Katuitt.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
Hmm.
I know him, I see him all the time. He seems like he does a good job.
He does a very good job. He's become very knowledgeable and, does participate quite a bit in the meetings, advising on, what requires a motion, and how the motion should be framed. He's also handled the, election, very well. The warrant, it's pretty straightforward. I've got a draft warrant marked down, but I think, Dan is one of the people I approached who was not interested in doing it. But I think that Dan would be a good resource as well. He will,
I
he will
asked,
give you the district perspective, whereas Ann's gonna be looking down, giving you the more of a top-down view.
I asked Ray about it because in our discussions, he'd made it clear that this gentleman has significant experience and expertise such that I'm not sure that, matching his salary is the way to go, but I'm prepared to be persuaded, is always the clerk is appointed every year. So it also gives us an opportunity, if all goes well, to bump that up, commensurate with how things are going. But I would love to hear your input. It's a little awkward, but unfortunately, this is the way it needs to go.
I agree with your thinking on that. A highly experienced, highly competent, not saying you aren't, Ryan, but a proven clerk at a $10,000 rough rate seems to make sense. And especially if we, even informally, revisit it each year. And depending on how things go this year, can increase or can adjust the compensation moving forward based on responsibilities. I think that makes sense.
I'll entertain a motion in that case.
You want me to make a motion to? The motion
We also want to make sure we fire John.
So a motion, I move to appoint Brian Olet, the clerk of the Katuah Fire District, at a rate of $6,000 per year.
Right. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Ron. Related to this, John, with some help, did a good job of putting together a number of a memo kind of detailing deadlines and processes. That I think is very helpful, but something we've never done before, and we're doing it without the assistance of an experienced clerk. I'm thinking that at the very least, if we're going to own this, we need to kind of have a caveat emptor, meaning buyer beware, meaning this is what our understanding is. You are responsible for determining things like filing dates. I don't want someone coming to us and saying, you told me it was 60 days, it was 50 days, I missed it.
Yes, I see what you're saying. I do think there are fairly well-established dates, including the election and the annual meeting, at which point we can kind of work backwards on that. But yeah, of course, a disclaimer would be certainly appropriate.
What's the timing on this? Do we want to get this out? Can we wait for our next meeting?
Seth, I don't think I included you on this.
No.
Did I? Unfortunately, but I guess here it is. Essentially, I guess a little bit of backstory. Commissioner Churbuck took the initiative along with Jen's background experience to, suggest a official fire district notice related to, the date specific to submitting nomination or having nomination papers, where they can pick them up, submission dates, and so forth. Would it be, I know we've had a question about that before. Would it be worth mentioning those dates, or I'm not sure?
You mean at this meeting?
Yeah.
Or subject to the, these are the dates that we believe to be, and I say we, I really mean you, because I've been checking.
I will say, yes, subject to the best of my ability, as the couple of weeks I was acting clerk. I believe so first of all, nomination papers are available for pickup both at the fire station and at the water department during normal business hours. The first date would be April 6th, would be the date to submit the nomination papers to the town of Barnstable. These nomination papers need to be filled out and signed by at least 25 registered voters within the Katuah Fire District. Very much recommended to get more than 25 in case handwriting is illegible or for some reason it doesn't work out. That is submitting the papers to the town clerk at the town of Barnstable. The next date would be, once those are submitted, it usually takes a day or two for them to get back to you saying, great, certified, come pick them up. The next date would be April 21st to drop off the certified papers to Jen at the water department, which she just basically collects it and then gives it to, I guess it'll be Ryan. And after that is this is a few different things. So nomination papers is that, and that is for anyone interested in running for Prudential Committee, Water Commissioner, or Fire Commissioner. Each one has a single seat open each year. Separately, related to the annual district meeting, April 27th would be the last day to file a petition to add a warrant article, which I have it in here somewhere, but how many signatures is it? Is that 100? 10. 10 signatures. Yeah, I guess I don't have anything else to say to that. April 27th was the last day for that. April 30th would be the last day the first day that absentee ballots are then available. Anyone who would be added to the ballots so it's a 3-day turnaround after the deadline. And looking back at previous years, the COVID time was a different one, but looking at kind of civic association messaging for 2 years ago, I believe the process is filling out a form which is available on the Massachusetts website, government website, and to apply for an absentee ballot, at which point it will be provided to you and must be returned by May 26th by 4 p.m. In order to be counted in the election. Also, May 26th between 4 and 8 p.m. is the Katuitt Fire District election. And the day after, May 27th, at currently 7 p.m. is the annual district meeting. And that is the timeline. So this memo essentially outlines the nomination papers, the absentee ballots, and the annual district meeting, important dates and deadlines.
The time on nomination papers, not just the day.
I do not have a time. I would generally say business hours. If I had to make one up, I would say 5 p.m. 4 p.m. would be.
Do not make one up.
Well, 4 p.m. for the nomination papers.
And
I will make a note.
to Jen and to the clerk.
Yes,
To
to Jen, who will then deliver it to the clerk.
Chairman, if I may correct the vision or not, the annual district meeting would begin at 7:30, then last 7.
I apologize. I wrote a note beforehand, but in the memo, it does say 7:30 p.m.
And just to emphasize for everyone, and that this is a perfect illustration, John has gone to great effort to put this together. In every event, our bylaws or the town or state requirements control, and to the extent that there is any question whatsoever, please refer to the bylaws, refer to the other sources. But having said that, thank you for pulling that together. I think it is helpful.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, just to finish on that, but pending those changes, the suggestion was to post it in public places, including Freedom Hall, potentially. Can't remember all the places. Commissioner Cherbuck can remind me. The post office, definitely, and maybe the coop as well, and then publish it online on the website. If pending approval of all the dates and times.
Okay. When you say pending approval, meaning you're going to review it one more time, or?
I will add a little bit more detail related to it.
Okay.
And send it around for, I guess, share it with the fellow commissioners.
That'd be great. And if you would put some exculpatory language at the top, that would be great.
Yes.
Yeah, I know I'm a dog with a bone, and I do appreciate you doing this. Just the lawyer in me gets twitchy. It is getting late, but we're gonna press on. The next item is the treasurer's report, which we had previously, so I was just gonna check to see if we have any further information on the $85,000.
No, the auditors are still working on a number of accounts. We've kind of missed our slot. My fault. And so they've got a lot of districts that they're dealing with at the same time. They're going to be preparing an unaudited report for inclusion in our financial disclosure report. It's our annual report to the market committee for municipal bonds. More than that, the auditors really were reluctant to say. Looking at the performance to date, the target for February is 67%. That means we're 67% through the year. And using that as our goal, we're almost caught up with the tax collections. We have been lagging for the past several months. But as I noted, the last time that, the first time that the taxpayers saw the new tax levy in their tax bill was in January. And so the January and February catch-up leaves us only 2% behind, $70,000 behind on the tax collection. So I would assume that we'll catch up by year end, as we usually do. Overall, revenue is about $400,000 ahead of the target for February, primarily due to the strong billing in the water department for the summer usage, July through December. And they're already at 120% of the projected budget for water revenue. Turning to the expenditure side, we're underspending our budget. Overall, the budget is at 63%, and that includes over $1 million of annual expenses, which if you prorated would probably be somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000 that you'd take away from that. So between revenue and expense, adjusted for those annual payments, we're approximately $1 million ahead of on the favorable side of the budget. Some of those payments, I'm sure, are going to catch up with us before the year is out. But we are, as of right now, in a very favorable position in terms of the budget. Funding is in a good position. As I indicated, the stabilization of water department is at $272,000. And the reason that it was $300,000 and came down, I actually went back and there had been a misallocation when the water department funds were part of another fund. And we have been working to isolate the funds on the investment mechanism, such as CDs or brokerage accounts. The capital funds are heavily weighted for the fire station. We've created a ladder, a sequence of treasury bills to invest that was tied to the expenditure budget for the fire station. We're in line with that, with the exception that as of January, they were $2 million behind their schedule. So that means that we were available to take advantage of that shortfall and invest those funds in 30 and 60-day T-bills to keep the money earning while it's not being needed for use. The operating account has actually not been balanced. Cape and Coastal changed their statement format, which eliminated the summary of expenditures and receipts. And I use that to verify that we have recorded all receipts and recorded all the disbursement. And in the meantime, as a bridge, they've been providing me with summaries. Unfortunately, the ones that they provided did not add up. In other words, the receipts, the disbursements from the beginning balance were off in some cases over $100,000. So I have to go back to them and get revised figures from them. Articles are heavily weighted for the fire station. That is proceeding, as I said, behind the schedule. So it is well within the budget parameters, as are all the others. On the expenditure side, there is really nothing that stands out on the expenditures. There are some areas where we're getting close to the budget target, but in almost every case, on an article by article basis, we are well below the budget target for February. The other thing that I was going to talk about was the budget as we knew it today. Obviously, with the fire department not being in, it kind of makes for an abbreviated budget. But just assuming that the budget was, the fire department budget had no increases, with the increases that already exist in other areas, primarily debt. That is going to be a big issue in fiscal 27 and 28. We are already up 11%. So it augurs to take a careful look at what the budget will be for next year.
Thank you. Let me just say in this regard that the next agenda item was the fire union negotiations, which I thought I was going to have something to report on. I do not, but I will stay on top of that and encourage the fire department to complete their budget and get to us as soon as possible.
Sean assured me that once the negotiations are settled, we will have that information.
Okay. Good. Hopefully we will have good news to report soon. Let me re-raise one issue very briefly. Seth, before you came, we were talking about the school.
Yeah.
The bids are due Thursday.
Yeah.
We're contemplating scheduling a hopefully brief meeting for Friday to
What time of day? The evening?
probably, but I'm flexible. Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
And John said he could do it too, so I'll probably notice a meeting for 6 p.m.
Oh, good.
Okay, we are at long last, the last agenda item is the proposed bylaw changes. Thank you, Patty, for putting together that, well, for your service on the committee, but also for putting together a very thorough recommendation list, and for reviewing it, during public comment.
Please.
So I guess there's two steps here. One is, does the recommendation go on the warrant? And two, do we agree or do we recommend or not recommend it? So we can go through, I guess, just, am I right? Am I saying that correctly?
Well,
Do all of them go on the warrant and it just says we recommend or don't recommend, or do they recommend to us, that is the bylaws
yeah,
committee
this is a
recommend?
subcommittee of the Prudential Committee. It's an
Right.
advisory.
Okay.
So it's an advisory recommendation for bylaw changes. When the warrant eventually comes out, we generally will then go through. When we'll decide what of these that you want, that we decide to put on, but the recommendation usually we do right at the time, like, right, we have a meeting where we do that specific thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Once the whole warrant is all there, usually we go through and vote one by one whether we're gonna recommend it. Well, these would be by virtue of the fact that we've put them on the warrant. It would seem as, you know what I mean? We would have to recommend
you
it.
know, if we recommend these, you just put them on,
I mean, you could say that as well, but I mean, it goes without saying, I think if we put them on the warrant, that we recommend them as changes.
Do you wanna briefly go through these and see if we have?
I mean, I can, I assume, I mean, you guys read them, right? I mean, they all
Oh,
have
yeah, of course.
fire trucks outside. Or the ambulance. But, to me, they represented, more or less a, you know, a codification of things uncodified, a clarification of things unclarified. There wasn't anything, you know, salacious about any of the changes that it was basically trying to bring the, you know, I guess a mini modernization of some of the bylaws. I was at this committee, obviously, and discussed them with the committee members. And they all seemed fine to me. I had no major issue with them. One of my points during, say for the first change, which is the records access officer. The clerk is the officer. I thought maybe kind of redundant, but it doesn't hurt to have that be a designation.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
did you,
Article 6, Section 5 says the clerk shall receive all requests for information from the public and determine whether the information requested is appropriate for release, but may seek counsel if necessary. So that,
I think the records access officer terminology is kind of a legal boilerplate of the day now. Do you know what I mean? That's my interpretation, right? So,
And that's simply a designation.
yeah, it's saying that
More publicly.
everyone will know that the person you're supposed to direct your FOIA request to, or whatever, is to the clerk, who at this point is Ryan. So as I said, it's a codification of things. It's in arranging the nomenclature. The Daniel District meeting change time, I think is a common sense change. I don't have any problem with that. I'm pleased as punch to go at 6 instead of 7:30, especially if it's gonna be a long meeting.
that's my view as well. I think we can let the.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will complain about it. I doubt it. I haven't with anyone.
About it, but.
So
Publication,
quickly on that, I think I agree with it too, the changing time. I think the only disagreement would be, you know, if people are commuting to and from Boston, 6 PM would be on the early side and missing some of it versus, but on the other side is 7:30 would end up being too late, so.
well, you gotta put your kids to bed, all those kids you have. So
I don't have to.
I'll be at the meeting.
This meeting go long, that's great.
I had the
Missed
same
bedtime.
exact
Perfect.
Within this community, though, I think it would be safer to err on the side of earlier rather than later.
I always go for earlier municipal meetings personally, so for me, if not at all, I feel badly that those commuters may miss out on a bit of it, but it's of course your call, we can vote on it. The publication of the voting results, this was just an effort to make it more readily available.
It's certainly best practice.
Yeah, what else? The adding of the nomenclature for the verbiage to make sure that it's clear that the Prudential Committee is responsible for the maintenance of Old Oyster Road, meaning the school property or whatever we want to call it, 140 Old Oyster Road. I think that was derived from the fact that it's specifically in the bylaws that this building is within the purview of the Prudential Committee. And the fire commissioners are directly responsible for the maintenance and care of their facilities, just as the water
Although that is
commissioners.
not spelled out.
Is it not?
Freedom Hall is spelled out, but,
Right.
but High Street is not called out and none of the water districts. Properties are called out, so I'm not sure from their to their.
Maybe that's because it would be taken for granted or not taken. I guess legally you should never take anything for granted, but
Right.
that they're responsible for all fire related properties. I don't know, why does it say specifically that we're responsible for Freedom Hall? Because there's
Um,
no, we have no specific mandate in our, we have no mandate to care for a piece of property particularly. Did they feel it was necessary to say that the Prudential Committee shall take care of Freedom Hall at some point in the past?
I don't know, it's, it's kind of like our office, I don't know why that was put in there. I do point out that it would be a little, these require 67%.
Right.
Vote, so for one thing, it implies that we're not responsible for maintenance or management, but also if we were to get voted down just because things like always been voted down,
Right.
then who's driving the bus?
Well, some of them pass sometimes, I don't know, I mean.
I'm gonna run that by Mark Boudreau, if you guys are okay with that.
What the legalese of this?
Yeah, as I said, this
Right,
little bit of
we can then abandon
an
it if
assumption
it
that
doesn't
we're not.
pass.
Well,
I know
at the minimum, we're supposed to demolish it and return to nature, so until we're done demolishing it and returning it to nature, I'm thinking we have a directive that this is what you gotta do.
Shouldn't it pass into the care? It shouldn't end up in the same, I mean, this is a separate topic, obviously, but you would think it would be logical that it would end up in the bucket with all the other conservation land that the fire or the water commissioners are responsible for.
If it really is, if everyone wants to put a conservation
Yeah.
easement on it.
As we said, a debate for another time. It's been
Okay. Oh,
changing the reporting deadline and publication date of the annual report.
yeah, that was tabled by you guys. We talked about that when I was at length, as you guys did, at length. When I was, the chair of the committee, it's hard to. If it's stable, it's stable, but I can understand why it is.
You know, that was,
Get your arms around.
anyway, recall of elected officials was simply to fill the errata, or the absence of that language. Because it is a pretty, I mean, there's some mechanism must exist. It's in every municipal body's
Is there any
language.
basis for that? Can we recall because of,
It's just based on signatures.
gross negligence and, yeah, but what's you get this,
I guess you have to make your case.
You didn't, but it's I didn't like the way this guy voted. I mean,
It could be any reason.
negligence or, we're gonna get to public comment here.
But in my understanding of it,
Okay.
it can be as long as you meet the threshold, it can be for any reason. I don't think that there has to be cause.
But this doesn't exist at every level.
Yeah,
It does in a town. Doesn't,
well, hang on, we're gonna get there.
like I could be recalled as the town councilor just by virtue, if they get enough signatures, there can be a recall election. People have done it before.
Doesn't mean that, as you pointed out, that, you can't recall, to be absurd, House of Representatives or a senator.
Can't you? I don't know.
No,
Well,
I don't think.
well, that's federal government. I mean,
yeah,
in Massachusetts, recall is a regular, in a municipal
can a
setting.
Massachusetts House of Representatives,
Can they be
can
recalled?
they recall?
I'm not sure on that, but keeping in mind, this is simply to initiate a special election for that. At which point,
Yeah.
maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't.
You submit your papers and then you have the election and then there's a vote on it. And if it fails, it fails. If it passes, you're out. And then,
Yeah, but my point is, on honor people can get together and that's enough, and you don't have to say the person is guilty of negligence, or the person is guilty of gross neglect, or it could just be like, we really didn't like the way they voted on this one issue.
you could be recalled for that.
And it could happen every year if it fails, right?
Again, I'm not an expert on the legalese and we can, Patty seems to know, we can have her answer public comment, but
Yeah.
I think that it's pretty standard in terms of this level of government. It doesn't bother me particularly because they do it. People do it. I mean, it's an unpleasant thing to have done, but I don't, you have the tool in the toolbox. You hope you don't have to use it, but sometimes you do.
Mr. Chair, can I jump in for a point of order?
Hold on, we're almost to the public comment section, Lila.
Yeah, but this is not a public comment. It's a point of order.
Okay, well, we don't have points of order, at the.
Oh.
Yeah. Um,
I'll
So-
wait. I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to wait.
okay, the other items, I think we can pass over this time. They are recommendations. They are, as any recommendation to be taken, seriously and contemplated. But given the lateness of the hour, if everyone's okay, we'll just review those and.
Which ones are we referring to?
The last,
Sorry, it's front and back.
I would say refer these to the bylaws or you're talking about
The
the
policy.
additional policy ones?
Yeah.
Refer to the policy advisory committee.
that is fine with me. And John, you being a member of the policy advisory committee, take those under in hand.
Will make a motion. I move to refer those recommendations to the policy advisory committee.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
Sorry, you messed me.
Sorry, John. You look nice to Wendy. I messed it at home.
Okay.
So we will, we just kind of gotten our thoughts out on the record here. When we do the warrant, we will vote to put them in or not.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we could vote now to put them into a warrant,
No.
or when we put the warrant together, we can talk about it.
Let's get the warrant together.
There's a bylaw issue here, Mark. That's why I was interrupting.
Okay. So let's go to public comment then. And Lally, if you would like to, you can go first.
Thank you. The bylaws specifically read, there shall be a standing committee for the purpose of reviewing the bylaws of the district on an annual basis and to make recommendation in the form of articles in the warrant whenever they deem changes or additions to the bylaws are appropriate. Now, I'm not sure what a legal interpretation of that language is, but that sounds to me like these recommendations, the specific recommendations from the bylaws committee, go to the warrant without needing to be approved by the Prudential committee. This is a distinction between the policy committee is an advisory committee. They're different. This is not an advisory committee.
It's a recommendation.
Yeah,
Not
we're
a
looking at that
determination.
actually before the meeting.
But they
Yeah,
make
we're-
recommendations in the form of articles. So the recommendations go before the voters of the fire district, not.
Well, I mean, that being said, then we should have, the committee should have made the articles and then it's at the discretion of the Prudential committee to put that article in the warrant. We made recommendations, not in the form of an article. This, I mean, this is how we've always done it, but it doesn't, in the wording that you just read yourself, it's a recommendation. It's an advisory body.
Yeah.
Recommendation in the form of articles. Doesn't that say that their recommendations are?
Yeah, recommending an article to the Prudential.
I understand. Okay. Yep.
And that the vote would be the
I follow.
article.
Yeah, the article itself. And then the Prudential committee would either put on or not put on. But I mean, of course, then there's always the citizen petition aspect of it, which you could easily then, they could be put on anyway. I think it's not that
I challenge that interpretation.
Okay,
Sounds like something that needs to be investigated further. That's maybe another Mark Boudreau question.
I will say, for myself, I am not opposed to any of the recommendations that were put forward. This is just kind of more, it's just mechanics of it, just the wording, you know.
Patty, did you have comments as well? No? My God, are we finished?
sure.
There's another bylaw consideration from the water department. Should we table that until next meeting?
Yeah, if you're talking about the water department's enabling act legislation. Let's do what we did with
Taking the time, I think it would be best to defer that.
Yeah, let's see what Governor Haley does. Now being 8:30 PM and the agenda having been exhausted, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.